What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon GO Battle League content. In today's video, taking a look at a really strong Ultra League team that I played and had some really positive results with over the last few weeks or so. Between this current rotation and the previous rotation, I was able to get some really nice results with this team, and it focuses on two Pokemon that you're going to be able to build without using any Elite TMs in the new upcoming event. On the 21st of January, we're starting off with a Licky in the lead. This team is a little bit XL heavy, but hopefully it's one of those like XL Pokemon that you just hopefully have the XLs. Maybe you were looking to build a Lickitung and it didn't work out and you just built a Licky instead. But the other one we're going to have on here is not an XL Pokemon, but we're going to be using a safe swap Shadow on this team because we're looking to draw out the things that the ghost types don't really want to see, right? Normal types and dark types, which are very commonly going to be responses to Feraligatr, like your opponent's Licky or perhaps a Mandibuzz, things like that. And the reason why is because we have a Shadow Drifblim in the back that we're going to use as our closer. You don't need a Shadow Drifblim, but it certainly helps to have a Shadow if you can, just because of how much more offensive power it has as a Shadow. Same with Gator. You don't need it to be Shadow, but it definitely helps in my opinion. And Licky's in the lead to be a core breaker because most people are going to expect it to be in the back, and so they may not be prepared for it on the lead. Let's get into these games here and check out the battles in the Ultra League here and see how this team functions. We're going to start off in a really interesting matchup here with a Skuntank. Now, the reason why we have Earthquake on the Licky is exactly for this reason, because dark poisons are a thing, and Feraligatr and Drifblim are going to need a little bit of help in that department dealing with those kinds of Pokemon. So, opponent has Trailblaze on their Skunk, as most do, but we're just going to fire off an Earthquake, hoping the opponent maybe either tries to call that we don't have it, or otherwise, and they do end up going for a shield here on the Earthquake. Now, the opponent's throwing on good move timing as well, so I'm not going to be able to get any extra rollouts through, which would help a lot. And they go for a second Trailblaze, and at this point, like, all right, maybe they're expecting me to bait. I would just want to land an Earthquake. I need to get rid of this thing. So I'm not looking to bait, because if I bait here, there's a chance that I may not be able to land that move. Now, while opponent has we've both gone down 2 shields, I am actually expecting them to catch here, but I'm still going to throw the Earthquake and they're going to catch it on a Virizion because they're absolute Giga Chads. So I now have to find an alternative way to get rid of this Skuntank. But the opponent safe swapping a Virizion here provides me a really nice opportunity to farm a lot of energy with this Drifblim. Drifblim does resist everything here that's not a Stone Edge, but most Virizions, I say most, I'm one of the people that'll run Stone Edge Virizions, so I know that some people will do it. I'm going to go up to max energy here, and I'm going to throw this Icy Wind before the opponent can get to another move. This will allow me to hit the Skuntank with an Icy Wind if I need to, and if something else comes in, it's going to have a bad time with this energy. So we're just going to go for the Icy Wind. I'm hoping that, the opponent just throws the energy here. We can outpace probably with Gator here, depending on when the opponent throws this energy. Now, they go ahead and throw. If it's got to be a crunch, they can't throw a Trailblaze here. We're going to go for the crunch, and then we're going to come in with the Gator. The opponent immediately switches out because they're afraid, I expect, that they may get farmed down. So my Shadow Gator here is just going to go straight for the Ice Beam here, taking out this Drifblim, and then we're going to be able to nearly Shadow Claw down, and I try to catch, my opponent decides to stop tapping. And if they hadn't stopped tapping, I think they might have actually won, but good game, well played. The catch was what I was really worried about. Now, into this next game, we're going to have a Gastrodon lead. Because it's a ground type and it resists rollout, I'm going to switch out, and now Feraligatr is doing exactly what I need it to do. We are now getting the opponent's Licky on the field, and even though Feraligatr won't ever really win this matchup, it's easier for me to have a chance to sweep with the Drifblim if the opponent's Licky is out on the field right now. So we're just going to go for as much damage as we can here, making sure we always throw on optimal move timing. And if you're throwing Shadow Claws, that's a 2-turn move, into a 3-turn user like Licky, you're going to be wanting to throw on the 1st, 4th, 7th, or 10th Shadow Claw, depending on how much energy you're trying to go for. Opponent can just farm us down here, but we will get a shield advantage if they're going straight for the body slams here, which is really nice because a shield advantage and a farm down on our own Licky is going to be really helpful. Licky's energy does go quite a good distance into a lot of teams. So unless it's literally a flying type, that's bulky, but we'll see. I'm still just throw the body slams. I'm assuming the opponent probably has Shadow Ball at this point. Otherwise, they would have thrown Earthquake at this point. So we're going to get the full rollout down here, but that's going to be impactful energy, but I'm going to save it and see what the opponent has. They have a Drifblim in the back, which is really good. Now, because we are ahead by a turn or so, we're going to be able to land this first Icy Wind or get the shield, and then be able to sneak another through. So I'm going to go ahead and shield with the hope that I might be able to farm down here, even with the Icy Wind debuff. These Astonishes are chunking. I'm going for it, but we're both going to simultaneously knock out. So now all that energy on the Licky Licky is going to have to come into play here. I do have a shield as well. We're doing about, I would say 30, 40, I would say 35% or so with the Earthquake. So we should just need to land an Earthquake and a Body Slam. I just need to not take an Earth Power here. The opponent goes and full sends the Earth Power. And now I just need to get to a Body Slam before they can get to another Earth Power. Body Slam definitely won't knock out here from the opponent. So we're just going to go for this Body Slam when we get there with just 2 more rollouts because rollout energy generation is busted. We're going to Body Slam down the Gastro and take that game. Well played to the opponent. All right, getting into this next game. I think I faced this person twice in this video. So take note of how we play this game. I really want to highlight the way that everybody, like both myself and the opponent here, adjust. Now, this opponent stays in with the Malamar a little bit too long here, and they're forced to take this Hydro Cannon. That's good for me, because Malamar does really well into my backline, and because I've already gotten so much of an advantage with my Feraligatr, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to shield. Now, unfortunately for me, they also have a Licky Licky in the back, so they really do kind of on paper just destroy my team. So it's going to come down to what they have in the back. The opponent probably can't go for a knockout here, can they? I don't know. I actually don't know if a move knocks out, but I'm down a shield, so I really can't afford to shield again. But thankfully, the Feraligatr is able to live that Earthquake. The opponent does full send. So now I know how much damage this is. I don't play my Gator very often, to be completely honest, just because of the fact that it's so often like hard countered like this. But in a team comp where I'm trying to use it to bait out something, this is actually a much better place to utilize it, because Drifblim being able to sweep in this league is just, it's a fearsome thing. Now, opponent decides to call a Body Slam, and they ended up catching these hands instead. And in comes the Licky Licky here. I don't know, right? I don't know what the opponent's got in the back, but we're about to find out. It's a Steelix. So this is a really tough endgame. I basically need to go for an Earthquake here. The opponent knows I have it, so I'm really hopeful here that they're going to shield us, because they may have Breaking Swipe, which may very well end up being a thing that they try to throw here. So I'm going to go ahead and let this go, hoping it's just a Psychic Bangs. It is a Crunch, but Licky, oh, way too thicky. Shout out to Jamie Finn. I'm pretty sure he's the one who came up with that one. Goes for the Earthquake. We get both shields off the opponent. Now, Drifblim, I just need to utilize this shield to not get crunched again. Opponent probably goes for Psychic Fangs or something. They go for the Crunch, which is really nice. I was expecting it. I was honestly expecting that. But they get the defense drop. I try to go for a catch on my Feraligatr, but the opponent sees through me and reads me like a book. Going for the Shadow Ball. The Shadow Ball is almost enough. But is the opponent's Crunch going to be enough? It is a non-stab Crunch from a Shadow Steelix. Let's see. We are going to be able to live that on 1 HP. Good game to the opponent. Well played. That catch was also hopefully like resetting my debuff. So had I not gotten that, had I not diverted that energy or anything, like, I would have been much better. But we see in the next game, we have a Gastrodon. Now, something that's worth noting, timing goes a little bit awkward when you're swapping and the opponent stays in. So instead of throwing on 1, 4, or 7, I actually want to throw on 5 after the switch and then go back to 1, 4, 7, 10 after the charge moves get thrown here. Now, the opponent's going to swap into a Galarian Weezing, and I have a loaded Gator. This is never a good thing for the opponent to do, but this also tells me that they may not have a hard answer to my Drifblim. My opponent throwing right away like this tells me it's just a brutal swing, but I'm going to actually try to put some more pressure on them. I'm not sure how much exactly it does. I'm pretty sure that it's not going to knock me out from that range, but I'm going to go ahead and go for this Hydro Cannon and try to get rid of this thing, just because it is a bit of a pain to deal with for my Drifblim. Opponent has a Typhlosion in the back. I'm going to go for a bit of an extra, a little bit extra farm here. I probably could have thrown on 4, but wanted to just get as much as I could to see if I could get close enough, because I wanted to go for that 1 claw into the opponent's Typhlosion's Incinerate. Wanted to go for that 1 claw in the Hydro Cannon, but the opponent makes a very nice play, swaps into Gastrodon, snipes me down. But we have the Drifblim to get this farm down and all the energy that we could need to deal with Typhlosion. We're just going to go for 1 and then the Icy Wind. Licky Licky's in the back, looking pretty thicky. We should be able to tank any one move from this thing. I'm actually going to try to force him to throw that energy at me, and I just need to get to a Body Slam here. So we should be in a very good position, very comfortable winning this game, as we just need 3 rollouts to the body slam. They basically need 2 blast burns to secure a knockout with the attack drop from the Icy Wind. They just need 2 blast burns in general, and they're not going to get there, as we're going to be able to get to this body slam and take out the Typhlosion. That is going to be a good game. Well played to the opponent. Love the Shadow Typhlosion. I'm always too scared to use it, but I really want to. Getting into the next game against invisible opponents, we see a Clefable lead, and this is how I play these out. I am just going to immediately switch into Gator because I want to draw out that normal type Licky that might be in the back. The opponent does throw here right away on 5. I know this is just a Swift. I'm not scared of this energy, and I can just go ahead and let it go. Then the opponent's going to bring in their own Gator. So the way that they're playing this out here, they're going to go for some chip and then try to get me into a range where they can Hydro Cannon once and Shadow Claw down, which is entirely fine here. But I'm completely fine just letting this go. I do know that I can also get a nice rollout farm down here against the opponent's Gator, especially because it's a non-Shadow. Those Hydro Cannons are not nearly as threatening, and I'm going to be able to immediately switch in here. I'm just going to take advantage of the fact that my switch clock was up, try and get that energy head start, because the opponent really doesn't seem to have a hard counter for Alligator, and I'm hoping that also means they don't have a hard counter to Drifblim. The nice thing about Drifblim, too, is that it does force the Clefable to want to go for that Moonblast, and if they try to go for the Swift bait, I mean, I'll end up getting Swift baited and shielded anyway, and it happens so many times while I was playing this team, but it still forces them to need to throw that energy in order to get that knockout. Now, opponent here is going to go for a Swift. I'm just going to let this go, and we don't live it, unfortunately, but Drifblim at this point can get a really nasty farm down with that shield. And even if they throw a Moonblast here, which I'm like, you know what, it might as well be a Moonblast. They're at 6, it's a Swift, all right, whatever, it's fine. We're going to go ahead and come in, they're going to come in with a Drapion, rather, and this is now looking pretty bad, not going to lie. Drapion with 2 shields kind of just flexes all over my face. We do get the Icy Wind drops. Opponent makes a really sick, very, very nice catch here on this for Alligator. We're only going to be able to get a little bit of farm here. I'm trying to see if I can get to a Hydro Cannon. I'm not getting there. This game's over, and I know it. They can have it. Good game. Well played to the opponent. We'll take the 4-1 and get into the next set. Same lead in the next match here. We're going to see how things go. Going to play it out the same way because I feel like if it wasn't for the fact that there was a Drapion in my face, I would have been fine here. Opponent's going to come in with a Tentacruel. And while Tentacruel is really a good answer to for Alligator, it isn't a safe one, especially if you try to just abuse it for energy, because it generally, as long as we don't get the attack drop, we're going to make it to 3 Hydro Cannons before the opponent's going to get to their second Scald or farm us down, which is going to force a shield off the Tentacruel, and that's really, really nice here because it allows us to really kind of plan for this end game here. Having a shield advantage for anything is really nice, but what I'm going to do here is, because of the fact that my switch clock is up, again, I'm just going to save my Gator for a potential switch later in the match, try and see if I can use it for a catch or something, draw back out that Clefable, and really what this comes down to is opponent did not hard counter me in the lead. They sort of hard countered me in the swap, but the fact that they have Tentacruel in the back is telling me that there's a chance that they may be weak to Drifblim in the back, so I'm going to try and go with that and try and see if I can't also get this Clefable out of here. Now, we're going to do the same thing as last time. Again, if the opponent has the Drapion in the back, is what it is, man. There's nothing I can do about that, but we are going to be coming in for this farm down, and once again, because the opponent has less shields, I'm happy to shield once before we get the farm down in, but the opponent looks like they were very weak in the back, maybe had a Gastrodon or something, and they just weren't going to come back, so they did decide to concede, so good game to them. Next game up against another invisible opponent, we have a really nasty lead here against the Golurk, so we're going to swap right into the for Alligator. Opponent stays in here for a minute and then goes into the Licky, which is fine. Again, we're just doing exactly what I need to do. Now, I'm still just terrible at timing these rollouts because rollout, the animation, it's so weird. It almost feels like it's not right as far as the animation versus the time it takes to use it. But again, same as we've been doing, whenever I get countered with a Licky on the swap, I'm going to just go for as many of these moves as I can get. We're going to live 2 of these rollouts, so it allows us to get to a Hydro Cannon to pressure the shield or get switch advantage, which switch advantage would have been massive, but the opponent decides they're going to actually hard switch into their Golurk, and I'm going to show them why that was not a good idea. Going to go for a farm down here with my Drifblim, full shields. They're going to get to a Shadow Punch, doesn't matter to me. gonna just let it happen, man. Whatever happens at this point happens, but Drifblim's got all this energy, and let's see what they have in the back. Opponent did show that they already had the Licky, and it was super low. The opponent has an Air Slash Mandibuzz in the back, so the fact that it has Air Slash is kind of nice here, but the other thing that I'm gonna have to deal with is just the fact that they do have the Mandibuzz. I'm gonna try to catch the energy here, come in with my Licky, and at this point, I know that all they have left on their team is just a really low Licky, which we are more than happy to get rid of, whether it's via body slamming it or if we just go ahead and farm it down. Now, because they have rollout, or not rollout, because they have Earthquake, I'm going to go ahead and throw a body slam. I don't want to take another one because I feel like if I do, there's a solid chance that the opponent can just farm me down with Mandibuzz. They shield to try and get the energy off, but they were not at the move. We were at 2 body slams, meaning we can go ahead and get that farm down and then look to just apply as much damage as possible to this Mandibuzz. The game is already won. I just need to get the Mandibuzz down into Icy Wind range, which it pretty much already is, but this next body slam will really just guarantee it. And I want to make sure that the opponent cannot, like, go for a move immediately and catch me off guard here. So I'm going to just swap in right now as the opponent looking to try to get the 2 moves, and they're not able to get there. And we're going to take it. Good game. Next game up, we're going to have Licky into a Talonflame. This is a fantastic lead. Any rollout user into a Talonflame typically eats in this match. Opponent's going to safe switch into Virizion. And this team, though it is ABA weak to Virizion, in the back, Virizion is not so bad because we have the Drifblim. I'm going to go ahead and shield once just in case they Stone Edge. It's one of those things where Virizion on the safe switch is like, it's going to be a Stone Edge. Now, at this point, they have Leaf Blade. I'm like, you don't have Stone Edge. If you have it, just throw it because I'm not going to go ahead. I'm not going to... So I'm going to go to max energy here at this point. I feel like I almost want to just fully farm this thing down. But 3 Leaf Blades is nearly enough to get a knockout. So I over-farmed by accident there. I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe I wasn't paying attention at this. I don't remember. But I'm going to undercharge, get a really nice undercharge here, and be able to take down 1 more Astonish. We're going to go for 1 and then the move, because if I go for 3, I'm going to go past 100 energy again, and I can still go for 3 on the next cycle because they still need 2 more Incinerates to get there. So we're going to go for another Icy Wind, and honestly, I'm considering pivoting out at this point, but honestly, I'm just going to go for as many of these as I can get, and it looks like we also live the next Incinerate as well, going for another Icy Wind. Drifblim putting in absolute work in this game. And the opponent's going to go down. I don't know why they went down. And I'm going to tell you why, just to kind of explain it in rationale of turns, right? This game works on turns. So my 2 Astonishes were 6 turns. They should have been able to take me out with that 1 Incinerate. I'm not sure if the game just screwed up somewhere along the way, but I guess at that point, just Drifblim was too much for him. So good game to the opponent, but... Getting into the next game, we're playing the same opponent that I mentioned earlier. Now, I want you to take note at how well this opponent adjusts to this matchup. Now, I try to switch right away, but the game decides not to let me do it. So we lure out their Licky once again with this Feraligatr. Now, I think these two games were actually played on the same day. So we're going to be going for a little bit extra energy. I was expecting them to go for a move, so I overfarm a little bit here, which is fine. We're going to be able to land 2 Hydro Cannons anyway, which is exactly what we need to do. Get them into farm down range, right? That's the whole idea. Now, the one thing that is going to kind of screw me here a little bit was the fact that we weren't able to swap out right away, which really kind of sucked, not going to lie. I love it when the game decides to just not register your taps. I'm sure you all have seen it plenty. I'm going to go ahead and shield here, trying to either force switch advantage or be able to get a shield back from the opponent. I would prefer to be in a 1-to-1 shield situation if I can, but the opponent remembers my team, I'm pretty sure, and realizes that their Malamar is going to be very valuable, so they go ahead and save the shield. So that is an adjustment the opponent has made, something that you can do. It's one of those things where you have to remember who you're facing against, and personally, I did not remember that I was playing against the same trainer, so I don't remember their team, and that's just, you know, they're going for 2 moves. I'm just going to save the shield for Drifblim at this point, hoping that we can make something work. Steelix pops in here, and at this point, I'm like, yeah, a shield disadvantage, I'm probably not going to have a good time, hoping that they go for Breaking Swipe or Psychic Fangs, which they do here, but the defense drop is unfortunately going to be enough. My only win condition here is if they call an Icy Wind bait, and I'm going to full send the Shadow Ball. Opponent shields it, and at this point, no, the game's over. They can have that one. Well played to them, and very good adjustment on their part. Getting into the next game, yet another Gastrodon. They're apparently everywhere now. Everybody and their mother's got an XL Gastrodon, so I'm going to play it the same way I have been. I'm going to go for the Hydro Cannon since they decide to stay in. After we go for this Hydro Cannon, I'm either half expecting them to throw a move, or they go ahead and stay in. They must be weak in the back to the Gator, so I'm going to actually go ahead and shield here. Even if the opponent just goes for a Body Slam, it doesn't really matter to me, because I'm just going to be going for as many as I can get to. Opponent goes into their Licky, and I'm going to be going for 4 Shadow Claws, and then the Hydro Cannon here. Opponent, like, they can save the Gastro if they want, but the thing that they've done at this point is they've misaligned the switch clock, so I have the opportunity to save my Drifblim for later, and so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to come in with my Licky here. I'm going to try and get to a Body Slam, I think, before their clock is up, but that's my hope. And I would like to get alignment with Drifblim onto the Gastrodon, which if I can just get rid of this Licky, I can do that. So we're going to go for the... I went for too much. I really should have just thrown the Body Slam right away, quite honestly. But again, they've come in with the Gastro. I can go for one more move, and I can farm all the way down with my Drifblim after this charge move. The opponent did not CMP tie us, so as long as the switch clock is up, which it should be, we can swap in, get the farm down, and absorb all the energy from the Gastrodon, which absorbing an Earth Power at this point is massive because it goes absolutely nowhere. We get the farm down with the Drifblim. The Licky is so low that we should be able to Astonish down, but I'm going to go for an Icy Wind right away just because I want to play it safe, get the shield if I can, or get rid of the Licky, and then they have a Drifblim in the back. Should be an easy win here because we're going to be able to just simply go for Astonishes and take this thing super low, and then Licky just absorbs the energy, or for Alligator can claw down. We really have multiple ways to win this game here. I'm just coming in with my Licky because I can just get them to throw energy, right? My energy does nothing here, but I can get them to throw energy, and at this point, we can just go for an Earthquake if we can, but the opponent lets it go. Right now, I'm good to just either come in with Gator or Drifblim and just force them to get fast move down. I'm going to go for it, get the Shadow Claw down, take the opponent's Drifblim, and get a nice back-to-back 4-1s with this team, getting up to, I think, what is it, about 2,600 elo or so with this team. So it's working pretty good. Yeah, 2568, pretty solid. I think I'm sitting now currently as of recording this like at 2660 something or so. So the team's super strong, works really well in the Ultra League, and as long as you avoid those Virizions on the lead, you should be pretty solid because Gator's a really nice safe switch in this meta right now to lure out the anti-ghosts. And if you don't have the Drifblim, by the way, at all, you want to run some other ghost type, you could probably run a Giratina, you could probably run Dusknoir, you know, other things that fill that similar role that you could run in that space. But that's going to do it for me for today's video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Click like, subscribe, all that fun stuff if you have. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.